Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Dan Cave and welcome to another video build series. So, I'm sat here in a generally confused state as to what's going on the bench. So if you watch my recent bench update, you know bench time's been at a premium recently for me. Work's been really busy, some holiday time as well, so just getting to the bench has been a struggle. However, a while back, I can't even remember how long ago, but a while back I built the Belkits 24 scale Metro 6R4 in the Rothmans scheme, well, a racing scheme, as driven by Jimmy McRae on the 85 RAC, I think. Possibly. 85 or 86. I want to say 85. I could be wrong. You can see I'm generally a bit confused at the moment because, you know, my brain is in different time zones, somewhere in the mid-Atlantic at the moment. But however, this is part one of the video build series, which I think it's probably going to be two parts. So technically it is a series, it's two parts. But today is part one. Part one is going to get all that bodywork stuff prepped, prime, paint, decal, 2K, and I'm going to get some of the engine done as well. Not the longest video. I've cut down the time a little bit because it reduces my amount of editing time, because I have a lot of video footage to catch up on because there's been a few builds that have been done. So this is going to be the first of the catch-up series, and hopefully at some point I might catch up with what I'm building. And given the rate I'm building at the moment, I will catch up because I'm not building a lot. So there we go. That's the rapid fire intro to today's video. So sit back, put your feet up, relax for a bit, and watch me build the Belkits 6R4 kit. So I'll be back at the end with some final thoughts. So see you in a bit. And it was, of course, 1986 because it's written on the box. So cracking open the box, everything individually bagged. Bodywork even comes in a separate box to protect it, which is excellent from Belkits. And first step, as is usual, is highlighting any areas that need to be painted in the base color of white, basically, in any of the body colors. So I can try and get all those parts painted at the same time. So the main bodywork, it's got main body shell, front bumper, front and rear spoiler, side pods. And then, of course, the chassis as well is going to be in white, as is the interior tub and various other bits and pieces around the chassis. There is a little bit of cleanup required. There's a little bit of flash on some of the openings on the kit, but nothing significant, and it's easily remedied with a UMP customizable sander. So the side pods can be glued on at this stage. So they just pop straight in place, and a little bit of UMP, Tamiya extra thin even, is flowed in from behind, and the capillary action will flow into the join. So as you can see, there's quite a collection of parts that need to be painted in white. So they're all going to be started with a base coat of primer, which is UMP white primer, shot through the UMP apex at about 30 psi. And everything's going to get approximately 3 coats. Well, not approximately, exactly 3 coats. Everything gets 3 coats of primer. Now the bodywork itself, I'm running an anti-static brush over it just to get rid of any remnants of dust. And again, the bodywork is going to get 3 coats of white primer. So the first 2 coats are reasonably light, just kind of building up the paint. Hard to see how much coverage you've got because it is white primer over white plastic, but as long as you approach things in a consistent and methodical way, you will get the coverage. So once all that is cured for 24 hours, it's on to the white paint from the Zero Paints Rothman set, which consists of a white and a blue paint. So in this case, again, there's going to be 3 coats of this white because it's white over white plastic. And the coverage seemed good enough with just 3 coats, but they are fairly light coats as well, because Zero Paints can be a little bit hot, so generally recommend to go for lighter coats. So once that's all done, it's time to mask up for the blue. So I'm using the Tamiya 1mm tape and then backfilling all the rest of the body with 5, 10, 18mm Tamiya tape. and also some larger kip tape as well, just to block out any of the additional areas. So basically I like to work my way around with the 1mm tape, basically lay out exactly where the demarcation is, then backfill that with the 5mm, and then start blocking out all the rest of the areas. And for this kit, I also want to block out the interior parts, just to make sure that there's no overspray that spills through any of the openings, like through headlights or intakes in the pods or anywhere, basically. So once that's all masked up, it's time to lay down. I think I'll lay about 6 coats of this blue down. So it's zero paint, so light coats again is the way to go. So build it up slowly. Very light pass for the first coat. Give it about 10 minutes to flash off. Same on all the other parts. Light coat on the bumper. And then once I'm happy with how that first coat has gone on, left it flash off for about 10 minutes, go back in and do the second coat, wait 10 minutes, go back in, do the third coat. Gradually building up that colour. As you can see, here is where I'm going in for the second coat. As you can see, that blue is beginning to build up in terms of depth of colour. And once you get to about the 5th coat, that blue is absolutely spot on. It's a little bit glossier than expected. So I may have put it on a little bit wetter than I probably intended, but there was no reaction from the paint or plastic underneath. So that's gone absolutely fine. All of that will be covered up by a clear coat later anyway. So as you can see, when I get to removing the masking, there is a little bit of overspray leaked through. That's in around the headlight openings on the front. So the headlight fittings will probably cover that up anyway. And generally speaking, all that masking has worked absolutely perfectly. And I've got a nice clear demarcation between the blue and the white. And that looks absolutely spot on. So once that's given a good 24 hours to cure, it will be time to start the Deckling process. So as you can see, bumpers and wings are also done in the blue as well. So the decal process is the same as is normally done. I got some warm water, UMP decal solutions, place the decals in place, work them exactly into location, and then begin applying some softening solutions. So let's speed up the footage, play a little background music, and watch me cover this kit in decals. So once those decals have had suitable curing time, at least 24 hours, it is time to put some wash in the panel lines. So I've gone with an Ammo dark wash. Now, normally on white, I prefer to use a lighter color, but because of dark blue, I want a wash that's a little bit darker than the blue itself. So that left me really only with this dark wash. So usual process for applying washes, very thin brush, liner brush in this case, and just allow the capillary action just to flow into any of those recesses. So anywhere around the doors, bonnet shuts, anything like that, and it just adds a little bit of depth to the kit. So once that wash is dried for at least an hour, use a little bit of odorless mineral spirits and a cotton bud and wipe up any of the excess. Because of course it's white as well, you need to make sure you don't leave any kind of areas of staining. It's very easy to leave them behind. So once that wash is done, it's of course time for the 2K. So Gravity 2K is used this time, and it's the usual 3 coats with Gravity 2K. First coat is the mandatory tack coat, kind of shiny pebble dash as I like to call it, but it is the first coat that goes down. Once all that is done and complete, that's left for about 15 minutes. But really at this stage, you don't want a full shine. And it's on this second coat that you're aiming for that first proper shiny coat. So you want a good kind of layer of clear to go down. You want no orange peel at this stage. Maybe a little bit, you can get away with it because you can maybe correct it on the third coat, but you're aiming for a good clear coat at this stage. Once again, once you've gone all the way around the body, got all the parts done, stick them in a sealed box, well, not completely sealed, dust-free box for another 15 minutes. Once that's done, you can then go in for coat number 3. So really on this coat, you're just aiming to correct any orange peel, any areas that don't look as kind of smooth or shiny, because basically with 2K, what you see is how it's going to cure. Make sure you don't have any runs, you don't put down too much, but you want enough clear coat to have a good, consistent, clear finish. And once again, just methodically work your way around the body. Make sure that all the kind of corners, crevices are covered. Make sure there's no orange peel, because this is how it's going to cure. So just looking at how that's come out, I'm reasonably happy with that. In fact, I'm very happy with that. That Gravity 2K has come out absolutely spot on. So that gets locked away in a box for at least 3 to 4 days. So while that's sat away curing, I can then move on to doing some of the other parts. So I'm going to start with the engine. There's plenty of parts for the engine. Each of them are going to get cleaned up as they're removed from the sprue using some customizable sanders in this case, because I'm just removing some sprue gates. There's no real seam lines to deal with. And once I have the main engine parts cleaned up, the two halves can then be cured together using some Tamiya Extra Thin mixed with some EMA Plasti-Weld. Now for this top part, I'm using the white label Tamiya glue, just because I want a little bit of a slower curing time, just to get it into place and get it on the little attachment points. So other various parts around the engine, the exhausts are going to be cleaned up at this stage as well, because that'll all get assembled as part of the engine assembly. This, of course, is a V6 engine. It's in the 6R4, so there's a exhaust manifold for each side. So once all those parts are cleaned up, it's over to spray booth and it's time to lay down some black primer. So it's UMP black primer. Once again through the UMP apex at about 30 psi, and laying down about 3 coats of the UMP black primer. So this goes on very, very well. It's a great colour, a great base for the subsequent metallic paints that'll go down. Now on the engine itself, there's a few areas like the rocker covers which will stay black. So I'm just going to mask off the primer as it is, because it's not quite a matte black finish. And then I'm going to go back and use Alclad. I think I've used aluminium. I can't quite remember. I think it's Alclad aluminium. And that's going to get laid down through the Iwata Neo airbrush, which I, at this stage, was using primarily for metallics. So it's got a 0.35 needle in it and running it at low 15 to 18 psi for the Alclads. So as you can see, nice consistent coat of aluminium, and that looks spot on. Once all those metallic parts are cured, you can get the masking removed. So as you can see, that drive shaft assembly looks fine, and can unmask the rocker covers and the, I guess it's the cam covers at the end as well, or the belt covers. And that's all come out absolutely spot on. So there's a little bit of detail painting, which is going to be done with a brush, using some Revell aluminium paint, just to highlight a few areas around the end of the engine. Just easier to do this with brush paint than to mask and spray it. And then a nice kind of sandy yellow color for the distributor cap, which is mounted on the end of the engine. So once those bits are done, painted and dried, I can attach the exhausts at this stage. So they've been sprayed in Alclad exhaust color. There's one set for each side. So where the two mufflers meet, the instructions do say don't glue them together at this stage, and that is really important. Do not glue them together at this stage. I didn't quite realize why at this stage, but I didn't glue them, which is a good thing. And then a couple of other parts go on the engine. All put in place with some CA glue. And now, of course, it's time to try and fit the engine into the chassis. Now, the fit on this was incredibly tight. I was baffled by it for a while. And then I finally realized why you don't glue the two exhaust end cans together. It's basically to allow you to squeeze a little bit on the exhausts, just to give yourself a little bit more space to push the exhaust through the top of the engine bay. And then that engine fits incredibly so snugly into the aperture in the chassis. Very easy to scratch the paint at this stage. I did manage to scratch some of the exhausts, but once it's glued in place, it's completely invisible anyway. But it would be very easy to do a little bit of damage at this stage. But however, it goes in, engine is glued in place, and I can now glue in the distributor wiring that was supplied with the kit. So supplied on the rubber sprue with the mud flaps and poly caps, etc. So there's basically a set of wiring for each side of the engine. There's holes in each side of the cylinder heads for wires to go into, and then the holes are drilled in the distributor cap anyway. And then the carburetors go on as well. So there we go. That is the engine popped in place, wired up, and actually looks really good in place. The final step for this part is a couple of decals that go on the top of the rocker covers. So with that done, back to me. So there we go. That was part one of the Metro 6R4 build from Belkits, 24th scale. So as you can see, it's gone pretty well so far. That bodywork, that Rothman scheme looks fantastic. Not much assembly on the bodywork, of course, at this stage, so hard to know how the fit's going to be. Getting to the engine, you can see the engine went together lovely amount of detail for you know, a 24th scale kit like that. Getting the engine into the chassis was a bit of a faff. Very tight fit. Could have been a little bit clearer in the instructions about, you know, you kind of need to squeeze the exhausts together a little bit just to get them past the chassis. But once I figured it out, it went in fine. So engine is in the chassis, bodywork is curing, 2K is curing, so we're at that stage of the build. So that's part 1 done. So hopefully part 2 will follow reasonably swiftly, and part 2 will pick up the rest of it, and we'll get this Rothmans 6R4 out of the way. So, but you know, I've been really pleased with the progress so far on it. Yeah, really enjoyed the kit. Obviously it's finished, it was finished ages ago, so I know everything about the kit so far, but I'm just trying to tell you what I thought of the stuff that I did in part 1. As ever, yeah, thank you for watching. Of course, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Take the bell notification as well, get notified of any new videos. Please like the video, please leave a comment. Really useful to get those likes up to 50, because that helps YouTube recommend the videos and the channel more to non-subscribers, which is really useful for building and growing the channel. However, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next part very, very soon. So thanks for watching. Bye bye for now.